What's that? Howls from the woods. Movement under the water. Something you notice out the corner of your eye, but you look, it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone had a good Friday and is ready for the weekend. Yeah, because like always, I'm always ready for the weekend. Huzzah, huzzah, and all that fun stuff. Wasn't able to the night of recording this to see the Northern Lights that are going on a lot of places, but I'm gonna try again Friday night and maybe get lucky and see in the sky there. Because apparently, starting today and with over the weekend, apparently there's a comet that only appears like apparently like 83,000 years. And I think the article I saw that talked about it was like the last time this thing came around. I think they said like Neanderthals or something like that was still going around. So we're around. So I'm like, huh, kind of crazy. So now I'm not sure like how visible it is, like can anyone see it where, or where in the sky would it be and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure, but I briefly saw the article about it and thought to be, oh, it's kind of neat. And of course, a bunch of my family is showing pictures of the Northern Lights. So I was like, all right, I forgot. I'm gonna have to try. Hopefully, if it's still around, Friday night, maybe maybe get lucky and be able to see that, because that'd be pretty cool. Because someday I would like to go visit Alaska. Alaska is on like my bucket list of places to go, and obviously, like Alaska, Canada are like the prime areas. If you want to see the Northern Lights, you go there. And so hopefully I'd be able to obviously go see them in person there. Alaska, there's a lot of places on my bucket list that I would like to go to. Ooh, that's good water. And before Angus, my fingers are a lot better. My middle finger tip is still a little swollen, and it's kind of bruising up a little bit. I might need to get the nail removed. I'm not 100% sure, but it's slightly swollen, not 100%, but hopefully I don't have to take the nail off. But if I have to, if I want my finger to completely heal, because under the nail it is a little bruised, kind of bruised a little bit, and that's not good. And I think this thing does need or a snip, or however to get this thing out. Which kind of stinks, because I'm actually kind of enjoyed my finger not hurting like all hell anymore. So it's been kind of nice. So all right. Anywho, so today's episode. Actually, before we get into that, I hope everyone enjoyed the double episode from last week of the winner of the poll, the dragons, and then the backup episode of the Van Meter Visitor. Hope you all enjoyed those. And if you want another poll in the future, let me know in the comments below. Anywho, today's episode, we're actually doing another topic from. Or at least one. The topic today will be one from one of the polls. Have I been missed? Oh, whoops! This is not episode 23. Last week's 23. This is 22. This is 23. Let me change that up. There we go. So this week's episode, we're going to be talking about a cryptid that was on the poll last time, and this cryptid actually went under my radar for a pretty long while, which it's not hard to say because there's not a whole lot of information about it. I first discovered about this cryptid back in college when I started doing the radio show there, and just going through different sources, and just like obviously, like I go through Wikipedia and just get ideas of things and like what cryptids there are, and then expand my search from Wikipedia there. And there was a cryptid there. Obviously, again, a lot of monster names are not common. Most of them are the blah 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 monster, like something along the lines of the monster of blah 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 lake or something. And so I saw this one, I'm like, okay, like I haven't heard this one. Let's click it. And because the name is not very fancy, because we're going to be talking about the Partridge Creek Monster. And I was like, okay, let's click it. And I started reading, and I'm like, whoa, this thing is cool. It's things I haven't heard much about it, but there really hasn't been much about it. It's another one of those cryptids that had like a very few sightings, like maybe like a handful, if not even, and that's it. There hasn't been really anything else that is at least that I'm fully aware of, or there's public knowledge and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. And what the Partridge Creek Monster, what is it? What kind of cryptid is it? You might be asking. Well, it's kind of up there on my favorite types of cryptids. It's a dinosaur cryptid. Like, okay, that's cool. Like, again, many people probably may not know where Partridge Creek is, and it is in Canada, or in the more precisely, the Yukon area of Canada, up kind of up there. I got Google Maps. Yeah, there it is, Yukon. Pretty much up there, all the way up near pretty close to Alaska. So, wait, hold on. You might be thinking, wait, what? A dinosaur-like cryptid in the cold north of Canada, in the Yukon area? I know. I was surprised and shocked too, because obviously the idea of a dinosaur cryptid alone is already very cool and already fascinating to my little boy brain of like, ooh, dinosaurs, woo, awesome. But then the fact of hearing it being like, okay, this thing apparently lives in the snow, brain with me like, okay, wait, what? That's more exciting. That makes it a bit more exciting than the average dinosaur cryptid of like the ones that apparently live in Australia. Ones that live in like warm areas where you think of dinosaur equals warm area, dinosaur equal cold area. What question mark? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Obviously, being in a hot area makes a lot more sense. And unfortunately, again, there really isn't much about it. The sightings happened around in 1903 in the Yukon. And I got some things about it. Let's see. Should I try to? Okay, I'm gonna try to pronounce these names. Two hunters in the Yukon area. James Lewis Butler. Okay, with two T's. And Tom Lemore. Okay, not as bad as I thought. We're out hunting in pretty much like a deep rocky gorge area, and as they go and explore the area and everything else like that, they notice a creature, a very oddly shaped big creature that they observe this animal for about like 10 minutes, because their campsite overlooked this ravine ravine where they looked down and they saw the creature down in there. They observe, and then as they observe it, they describe the creature about being like 30 feet long or so. But some people say that anytime you give any sort of dimensions of anything, that especially something you're not 100% sure like comparative to, sometimes length and size of things may be exaggerated, or something like that. But so we'll say in the story, if they say they observed the creature for about 30 feet. and obviously, as they're watching things, also terrifying. But what kind of dinosaur is it, would you say? Well, unfortunately, it is not the friendly kind of dinosaur. It is a carnivorous dinosaur, kind of like that of a T-Rex, or precisely as these hunters described it, a Ceratosaurus, which has a bit of a bump, like a bumpy horn or something like that on the tip of its nose. I'll put a picture of it on the Facebook page. So make sure, if you haven't already, follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptidtalk. That's where I'll post a picture there about it. So yeah, so they observed this creature, and they were dumbfounded. The creature's just going around and everything else like that. Let's see. For a month, they found the creature of the dinosaur, and then this creature was seen for at least the next 4 or 5 years, until like some of the last sightings initially were around 1907 or 1908. Some things say there was something about 1908, but I think the sightings stopped in 1907, and like some information came out about it in 1908 more for people. And so, let's see. And apparently they went out to they actually went out to the area again and saw the creature again in the same area. On Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas, and or in 1907, and the thing was actually carrying a dead caribou in its jaws, leaving a tracks identical to the previous ones. Having the big the big big footprints in it, and the trail of the tail going alongside of it. Like kind of like the average kind of dinosaur thing. Growing up. So obviously this creature was only seen very like these few times, and so let's see. Hold on. Let's get something in here real quick. Caribou. No, come on, caribou. 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 There we go. Caribou, also known as reindeer. Fun fact: caribou actually used to have a much wider range. Wait, no, that was elk. That's elk. Never mind. Oh yeah, fun fact: elk actually used to be a lot more wide range in the United States, within the northern part. Pennsylvania used to have elk, but now they're over to hunting and everything else like that. Have actually pushed them to be very slick, a lot more remote in the northwest part of the United States, and fun stuff like that. So anyway, caribou. Okay, let's back up. Caribou, caribou, caribou. Do 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 do. So in hindsight, caribou are not small things. Caribou are pretty big, definitely bigger than the average deer. And elk are wait no are elk or caribou bigger? Elk are generally larger than caribou. So even then, no. So elk are actually bigger than caribou. Huh? Fun fact. Actually, I was wondering how close they were now. Because caribou are definitely not small things. They're definitely bigger than the average white-tailed deer. And yet they are apparently elk are still bigger. So, how about that? Anywho, so caribou are about a full grown male can weigh up from 350 to 400 pounds. That's a pretty decent sized animal. Let's see. Let's see if they talk about they said they saw carrying a big caribou in its jaws. Now there is an artist description of this event, and it does draw it having it as it depicts it as the caribou. It was a male because I'm seeing the antlers on it. But caribou are getting pretty big, so you need a very strong creature to be able to have this thing in its mouth. Now, let's see. Carrying. It didn't say it was dragging, it said it was carrying it. So that means that it must have had the caribou in its mouth, lifting it up and walking with it, and not dragging or pulling it along with it because of its weight. So this thing was strong enough to carry this caribou along like it was nothing for a good, nice little snack. Let's see. Okay. And of course, stories like this are so like well, I don't know what the word for it, are just so like crazy, and this is like, that's not the far fetched. That's a better word for it. Are so far fetched that people are like, there's okay, they're okay. Whoa, buddy, calm down. There's no way that something like this, possibly exists, and probably not. But I mean, obviously, most people consider this story as a possible fake. Because again, like another thing, there's like no significant evidence of the account. And the funny thing is that obviously there's only these few stories in the Yukon area. But believe it or not, this is not the only time that this particular looking type of creature has been seen in the world. Similar sightings of the animal have also been seen in Siberia, Russia, as well as an isolated sighting near Fairbanks, Alaska. Now, okay, let's see. How do I get you to go away? Thank you. I want. Oh, come on! I know there's a way of doing it. Making a little line to. Oh, I guess I could just. Okay. Oh, hold on. Oh, here we go. Measure. Here we go. Pew, pew. Nope, that's not what I want. Aha! That's how you do it. Aha! Here we go. Okay. So Yukon, Fairbanks. All right. So go judging roughly around the Yukon area and Fairbanks. It's about 361 miles. Now that's pretty far. All right. So now if we're gonna back up a little bit. Okay, let's do Fairbanks, Alaska. Flying over. Whee! Wait, no, hold on. Default. Here we go. You go. Oh, wait. Going. How do I get rid of you? Aha. Okay. So we got Fairbanks. Nope. Okay, need you back now. Directions. And we need it from Yukon, Canada. Sorry, cannot calculate any driving directions. Okay. So obviously I know if you're not fully aware, the areas of getting to of Alaska, and especially a lot of parts of Canada and the northern parts, there really aren't many roads. And really the only real way of traveling. Wait, hold on, what is this? Okay, so this is a road, Route 5. So there are some kind of routes, but there aren't a lot of routes. And a lot of times to get to a lot of places, you gotta fly. You gotta get like a little plane or something like that. But there, just looking now, there aren't a lot of roads. There's one big road that you honestly could take this one long little road. Let's see, what route is this? Route 2, and then connect it up to Route 5. From Route 5, you go into Route 9, and follow that down a little bit, and you honestly, and back to another Route 2 or something, and just go to another route, and you can reach there. So going by this, 361 miles. Is that right? I need this to go away. Go away. Yeah, just by looking at this near. So in time like that, let's see, driving to Kentucky, that's about like over like 500 hours, 500 miles. Going from where I live over to Lexington, Kentucky, that took about like 10, 12 hours or so. So it probably takes about, if you were to drive, maybe around like 5-7 miles. 5 miles. Goodness gracious, my brain. Hours to get to, if you were to drive there, which isn't unreasonable. Obviously, for animals to travel, stuff like that. So it wouldn't be unheard of. Let's see. When did the okay, so here's the initial sighting in 1903, talking about, the dinosaur the creature that they saw initially. Okay, and here's the one in 1907, the day before Christmas. Westminster, Duke of Westminster. Okay, that's the other parts of the world. Okay. Well, when did the one in Fairbanks happen? Okay, here we go. I think somewhere around looks like somewhere around like 1922 and 1928, I believe. It doesn't link to Alaska. Okay. So yeah, it wouldn't be impossible for something that was in the Yukon area to then with some travel time travel all the way from there to Fairbanks. It's not unreasonable. I mean, there's a lot of wilderness between it, but definitely depending if it was traveling there, it could be seen. Now, this was the only incident in Fairbanks, while the creature has been seen twice in roughly around the same area in the Yukon, looking pretty similar in the exact same way. and which makes it which adds some sort of credibility to it because I mean, people like this. I mean, it would be kind of hard for people to have any real good reason to really make up stories like this. Like, sure, some people do make up stories, to get in the newspaper or TV or radio or in whatever way to get like their few moments of fame. And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I saw this big old creature. It was, this and this, and it did this." Like, whoa! And you have any proof of it? It's like, "No, I don't got any proof." But like I saw it. Kind of stuff like that. And people, would try to do anything like that. But I mean, sure, like, could it be 100% possible these stories could be fake? Maybe, but I would also like to think that people, this is like the early 1900s. People, up here are pretty. Fairbanks might be a little bit better than some areas in like the Yukon, but some areas are still not super well developed and stuff like that. Electricity may not be the most common thing yet, or easily accessible by a lot of people, and especially up there up north, it's kind of hard to really have that. And a lot of times you really have to just go by just oil lanterns or fires or something along those lines. Better set my phone socket for now. And so I would like to think that people would have no real reason to lie about this because obviously, again, there weren't any cell phones. Phones probably weren't that common, if not at all here, and very hard to get a signal out. So stories like this would take time to get out, and it would be hard to get anything about it. And so I would again, hopefully they wouldn't have any reason to lie about this, because like what would they really gain from it besides a few moments of fame? But who knows if they were really feeling that at the time? They may have just been like, I'm telling a story of what I saw. This is what I saw. I'll be like, okay, no, we'll maybe we'll take your word a bit more seriously and stuff like that. But again, with a story as crazy as this, again, there's always going to be speculation about it and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Wrote number of articles, including story that told about his friend. Okay, around there 5. Okay, 1903. Here's the story about the 1903. Some possible like illustrations of the creature in like the newspaper and stuff like that. The animal was seen again in 2004, December 24th, 1907. And then we got here. Hunting the truth and kind of see cage actually the kinds of outside. Okay, yeah. So leg adjustment. So apparently there was also a plan on they planned. There's one man, the Duke of Westminster, planned on a hunting trip to the Yukon, equipped with a huge steel cage intended to capture the creature. But this is around 1908, 1914. But unfortunately, his plans were canceled because World War I was happening around that time. And unfortunately, plans after that were never revisited. Now, whether or not, these people are, survived the war and that's why they couldn't, hard to say. And then we also have between 1922 and 1928 of a carnivorous dinosaur resembling kind of something very similar to that have been spotted in the Soviet Union. It's like, okay, it's a different continent, but we're now it's like we're other people are seeing something similar, also in a cold area. So keep that in mind for just a little bit. I know dinosaur in a cold area. We'll get to that a little bit. I have some interesting theories and stuff like about that. They saw a creature. Now let's see some upon. It resembled pretty closely to the creature that was seen, in the Yukon. During severe winters. Because remember, Russia and Alaska are not that far apart. Okay, Google Map. Okay, hold on. Can we? Oh, wait, hold on. Click to remove. Click to remove. Okay, here we go. Okay, so if we want to go to the most tippy top of Alaska, or pretty much the closest to it, is Wales. Wales. Okay, let's get more out. Oh, measure still on. Boop. Boop. Literally from the tippest point of Wales in Alaska to a point in. Oh, this because God, my goodness, Russia is huge. So this little tippy point of Russia, which is I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. I'm not even gonna try. It's only a little over 55 miles. It's really not far, and they're speculating that where is it? Okay, you know, a quote. Speculating the animals might cross the Bering Strait during essential severe winters. And I guess I have no point in doing that. And so, because there are, you know, it's not that far across where if it was frozen enough, you know, from a very severe winter and stuff like that, and something really wanted to, they could cross that no problem, go from one area to another, and then spread out from one wilderness for there because Russia has a lot of wilderness. Russia's huge. Like, my goodness, Russia, you big continent. And so, so the so what them traveling from one area to another is obviously not, you know, unfathomable. Let's see. Where was okay? Hold on. Let's see. So yeah. Okay, let's copy. Where's copy? Copy. Paste. Boop. Much is that in Russia? Okay. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Zoom out. Now, where this creature in Russia was seen is a bit far away from, you know, where if it were to cross over from there or vice, or if it were to cross over from Alaska to here, it is a pretty big distance. But again, there is a pretty big time gap from from the early 1900s to at least 1922 to 1928. So something traveling that far would not be unrealistic. But I mean, there it is. You know, it would have a wide area to have to get to, but you know, if it went to the right direction, yeah, sure, it could get to this area. It's, you know, the area is very secluded and everything else like that. Very beautiful mountain, by the way. I guess that's probably the peninsula or a volcano or something like that of it. But so you know, it's not impossible for it to travel all the way there. Let's see. All I found was an encounter of large. Okay, all right. So quote. So this happened in user page section or the website described as an encounter with a creature. All right. So the thing is saying 1999, but then this thing's saying around 2012. So I'm not sure if it happened around this time or someone this happened in 1999. They're telling the story, but so I'm just gonna read the thing and then we'll go from there. How are we doing with time? We're doing awesome. Okay. Quote. Around 2012, an identified user on the Panda page section of the World Wildlife Fund official website described a alleged encounter with a large theropod dinosaur 30 feet in height, resembling an allosaurid, aka okay, yeah, we're not gonna try to go there. Rather than a ceratosaur, which was described as the normal creature. After departing a Denny's restaurant at the top of Fair. Okay, here we go. Here's the Fairbanks story. Okay, cool. So here's the Fairbanks story here. So even more time has passed since then. Interesting. Okay. The animals allegedly terrorized the individual and their family while inside their car, as well as another couple witnessing the animal from a nearby ledge, and allegedly the animal was looking to feed two of its young. So there's there. Many years later, about 90, more than 90 years later, similar creature, another kind of interesting dinosaur-like creature, not far, about the 360 some miles from Fairbanks, or from the Yukon and the Fairbanks, which then also someone else describing them seeing possible young, like, two smaller young ones nearby, possibly, want to feed, eat the people and feed it to its young. Huh. All right, well, now I really got to go to Fairbanks because I want to try to learn about this story and stuff like that a bit more. Okay. And yeah, so then that's really most of the there is a lot of information. There's some very interesting information about this, about the creature and everything else like that. And some books I'm probably gonna try to look into getting, because any kind of unique cryptids kind of stories like this, I love hearing about, especially dinosaur ones. They're just so fascinating and just so interesting when it comes to all this, and there's just so fascinating stories about all these. So okay. So now the interesting thing is, all right. So let's go back for a second. Obviously, the idea of this dinosaur existing at one point has been confirmed. We do have fossil records of this dinosaur actually being alive at some point in Earth's history, at the time of the dinosaurs. So that's not far fetched. But where were these bones, located? So I looked into it a little bit, and looking, a ceratosaur, where are their bones normally found? Like, are they close to the Yukon? Like, obviously, like tectonic shifts and like how everything changed, but like how much would it have changed? Well, right now, most bones of this particular dinosaur seem to be found in Utah and Colorado, with some also being described in like in other parts of remains have also been reported in Tanzania, Uruguay, and Switzerland. Hold on. Okay, all right, hold on. Switzerland. There's Switzerland. Do. Yeah, Switzerland is very far away from the areas of Russia where this creature has been seen, and even farther going, even from Alaska. So yeah, so that really wouldn't be add up anything to it. But so obviously it's like, okay, like, because it would make maybe a little bit of sense of, like, if the bones were found in that area and then there's creatures here, it's like, okay, maybe there's something there. But obviously, of course, this creature, the dinosaur, has been seen in like areas that are supposed to be known in warm areas and stuff like that. Also, um the dinosaur, actually, before we get to that point, the dinosaur itself, some of the bigger skeletons have been seen around 17 to 23 feet long. So not really matching the 30-foot description of the creature, but how accurately can you say you saw that it was 30 feet long? Like, what kind of, you know what kind of, like, what is, God, I always know these words when I'm thinking about, when I'm like beforehand. Then I'm thinking about it now, it just won't come to me, of like reference. What did you have as a reference to gauge this 30 feet length creature? And so, so not really close up, but again, so it could be possible that people may have misinterpreted the size, and who knows, it could have been similar to the size of, of some fossil stuff like that. There also could be a chance there also could have been bigger versions of these dinosaurs, that their fossils have not been found at all, or may never be found at all. So that possibility is there. But there was a description about the creature that I have not talked about yet. Besides apparently also being like very black in color and stuff like that, there's one interesting feature that in the initial encounters it did see, that adds some interesting thought into it overall. And it was seen with what looks like with hair around its body. Now, in early years of dinosaur movies and stuff like that, especially up into like the very Jurassic Park and Lost World, the Jurassic Park 2. Dinosaurs were only seen as these scaly animals and stuff like that. It wasn't until later on that some dinosaurs, like some species of velociraptors, and then later on some species of T-Rex and larger dinosaurs similar to it in size, were seen to have like either some sort of like hair or feathers, showing that some of the dinosaurs like velociraptors were getting their feathers to evolve into into like the modern birds and chickens of today. Which in a sense, they evolved into a way to be able to sustain colder temperatures, regulate their body heat, and all the other fun stuff like that. So let's see. There's just so much in this thing about the ceratosaur that I don't know if it ever thought that if any of its fossils or any theories to speculate that it would be have any sort of hair. But let's just say if it didn't for a moment, then maybe initially it evolved to where it didn't. Obviously, you're in warmer weather and stuff like that. Um, okay. Now some versions of it are showing some. Yeah, okay. Some artist renditions of it are showing them with some sort of like hair or feathers. So okay, somewhere in here they are talking about it like that of them growing growing that. Nasal horn, brain senses, function of paleontology. Okay, so somewhere in the research of it, they have talked about them possibly having some sort of hair or feathers growing up. So okay, there is one possible sign or at least evidence supporting the stories of people saying they saw the creature with this long kind of hair. And so that would make sense because obviously now whether or not how much it had and stuff like that might be hard to say, but it might just been slowly evolving. The Earth is slowly getting colder, and it had to evolve to be able to help it survive and stuff like that. Now, how it could have possibly have survived all this time for millions of years, and only started being seen like in the early 1900s is beyond me. A possible theory of that we'll get into those a little bit. But back to the hair. So obviously, so if they were believed to have some sort of hair or feathers in the early days of evolution with them, then the idea of them evolving to modern day, where they would have more hair all over the body, doesn't seem that far fetched now, does it? Because if a creature that once lived in a warmer area, but then for some reason had to go to the colder area for something, like let's just say for some reason it didn't die when the meteor came, and obviously during that time the world was I think was believed to be very cold because the sun was blocked out by the clouds, and that's one of the ways that things started to die. But now we have and then so who say that during that time of it had to evolve or some and start growing more of this hair or feathers so that it would be able to be warmer during these cold times, ergo then having to go up at least north as of now, where who knows where that exactly was back in that time, but of living in that area. And then obviously whether the weather in that area was colder, more isolated, it had to evolve to be able to survive these colder climates. That and these like obviously there are so many remote parts in Canada and like up north that there are probably a lot of stories of some really weird stuff in Canada, encrypted wise, and things that are absolutely just terrifying. This one being one of them, and so it wouldn't be surprised if there was some way of this thing of living, somehow. How though? I can't. I can only speculate and everything like that. But obviously, I can't really have anything for sure. So living in these areas, it grew the hair and was being able to survive the colder weather. Makes sense. Obviously, it goes like that. But now it's like, okay, but hold on, why? How? Okay, this is like these few accounts of this thing of of a dinosaur like Cryptid, living in these cold areas with hair. That's probably it. You would think that, but no. There were a one story I did find of someone who believed they saw on Christmas Day saw a family of velociraptors outside of their house somewhere like North America, I believe. And the family is just had a nice little Christmas dinner, and or they're having at the time, and then the kid looks out and sees something and sees these little things like playing in the yard, and kids watching it and stuff like that. And I believe the mom comes over to see what he's looking at, and just looks at him just stunned, and he sees like these little baby velociraptor like creatures, kind of white and covered in hair, are just playing in the snow. When all of a sudden, coming from the one side is a much bigger one, believed to be the parent. Again, big, tall, big, same thing, just bigger size, white hair, and everything like that. Well, the mother, apparently the bigger one, sees them, looks at them, growls and snarls, and the other one, the little ones, go away into the darkness, and it follows behind them shortly after. Later that night, it comes back. The kid makes a sound. The dad does see it also during that time, but that night the kid makes a sound. The thing like apparently jumps up the second story window, busts through, like making some sort of noises. There's the kid's screaming. I think a parent comes in screaming and wondering why this thing's up here, and is able to push out the window. Apparently, then falls out the window, then scurries off. And I believe that was the last time they ever saw of this creature. But so here we go. We got another story of a dinosaur-like cryptid being seen by modern day people, if the story is true, it being covered in hair in a cold area. So, and here goes my theory of something I speculated, beforehand, and in some cases of evolution. Obviously, in normal sense of evolution, dinosaurs evolved, had many scales, and then over time started getting more feathers and hair and stuff like that to evolve into the modern day birds that we have today. So there's a clear sign of okay, here's evolution right here of a less scary and smaller scale of it evolving into the side of to modern day animals. But who's to say now? Obviously, with evolution, things happen for a reason. Things evolve the way they do, and because they have to survive to be able to they evolve to survive their new environment and climate and food source and many different things, like around in Africa on the mainland there was a sauropod like dinosaur that was huge, very big, huge dinosaur. And then obviously off the coast of it, we have the island of Madagascar. On Madagascar, obviously being obviously a small little island compared to the big thing of Africa, separated from the mainland, they found much smaller version, like I think like a third of their size, so smaller version of the same exact leg bone found in the bigger one, and then showing that over time the ones that got separated from the mainland and gone on Madagascar had to evolve to be smaller to be able to sustain their bodies with less space and less food. So it would obviously evolving that way. That means like okay, they need less food than they did before, and they can survive a lot better. Huzzah! So now, who's to say that something like this could not evolve to where it grew up in a hot or warm environment, had to go up to a different area where it had to evolve to be able to survive there, and to be able to thrive in a sense. Obviously, thrive is a hard thing because obviously, for most people to say for something to thrive, there has to be a lot of breeding population and all that fun stuff. And obviously, of course, fossils have been found in Alaska, but there obviously has been any fossil records of this thing. But again, traveling and stuff like that. So, and obviously, some areas may not be best for creating fossils, as we know we've talked about before. Ooh, that was close. I almost closed the recording. So, I know it's very far fetched, and but it's very like you can't throw out the idea that evolution in a lot of cases, like I've said for Nessie and other and Champ and stuff like that, of them evolving to where they don't need as much air anymore, and so maybe they evolve to where they can survive colder water and just be able to hold their breath for much longer. Very possible. So now it goes so it's not I just don't think it's unfathomable. Now, another interesting theory that people have throughout there for Nessie is like there's some like, sort of like, I can't remember the exact phrasing of it. Whenever I tried looking up, I would have a hard time. Time uh, displacement event for Nessie. Um. Okay, now I can't remember. Pretty much the theory goes behind it. It's like some like time distortion event where in that area, let's say that was the time, like that area is very similar to the time of the dinosaurs, and there's a portal or temporary time where our present time merges with time from the past, creating kind of like a temporary like of both our timelines coinciding for a moment. And people say that that's what they see. Like they see like Nessie in the water because it displaces itself from the time period to where it then we can temporarily see it in our time, and that's why people don't see it for an amount of time or anything like that. Maybe the same possible theory is for this, but maybe instead of going back to where it came, maybe sometimes some of these things are stuck where they get let out. Again, I've got no real evidence or anything like that, but just a theory that people had for it, and I don't know, it might be just something to at least consider for possible things like this, or somehow these things have been able to survive like underground or something. I don't know. It's so many different possibilities. Okay, let's see. Do. And I would say a lot of these people's rendition of the creature as they draw them. Some people do them as just white, kind of like the idea of just the plain black ones and stuff like that. But yeah, like this one. Like this one's pretty cool. If I saw something this big modern day, Earth we would be screwed. And yeah, it's just a very let me make sure I don't got anything else. Okay, snow, cold weather. So, okay. Oh, there really was no more continue. Okay, let's skip this one. This one will be 24 when I get to these notes and stuff like that. So, just a very interesting cryptid that there is a chance that it may not be true, but the similarities between some of these sightings over years is something that can't just be easily ignored. Now, again, do I believe that the idea of it is pretty out there? Sure. Obviously, any story of people saying that they saw a living dinosaur is already outlandish as it is. But then when someone says they saw a tall T-Rex like dinosaur in like the Yukon and Alaska and these cold parts of the world, people are like, okay, no, now you're definitely messing with something. But I just remember something else. So we're gonna rewind a little bit. That the initial people who saw the creature, they said they saw the tracks of it. Looked like it was dragging along its tail between the tracks. Now, it's that detail that made a lot of people think that this story of them was not true. Because if you've ever looked at early versions of like dinosaur films and stuff like that, of them like using like some sort of like T-Rex or something similar to it, a lot of times the dinosaur is seen as being tall, straight up in a way, or kind of at an angle, dragging its tail behind as it walks around. When later on in science, they've a lot more better theorized, or just by looking at the fossils, that it actually, is actually actually use the tail as balance, and so the dinosaurs, a lot of these kind of dinosaurs, were actually more horizontal instead of being head up, tail down, dragging along the floor. That people don't believe it really in that case. So that's why people were starting to, and it actually wasn't until much later, because and they definitely talk about it in this article about the guy. I'm not good at of the Ceratosaurus. Of it shows like the average thing, tall creature standing up, tail dragging along the ground, And then okay, and then 1896, they have the general depiction. And then in 1920, they show another skeleton of it not being as horizontal or standing upish, but kind of like in like the middle a little bit. But his tail isn't off the is not really dragging on the ground anymore. It's kind of off the ground, kind of helping it balance, which then kind of goes along with the very basic idea of of how dinosaurs probably actually did move, using their tails as balance and being more horizontal to be able to chase prey and stuff like that. So that's one of the speculations of why people don't think people think they made up the story, because if that truly was the case, that dinosaurs were like this or something along those lines, that the tail wouldn't be dragging along the ground, ergo that could not be when they seen. And then people then think, oh, they probably made it up because and back in that time that's what people thought dinosaurs like that moved. But at the same time, though, obviously, we're just going by science, and we can only get so much from science. I would not be surprised if some stuff that people say like, "Oh, this is 100% correct," is maybe not correct in some way. Whether or not that means people are lying or anything like that, no. But like we can only learn so much from fossils, and obviously, over time, the ideas and theories behind things have changed. So maybe this is correct, or maybe it was like this, and for some reason it changed. Now, I can't possibly speculate or even fathom like why that would be the case. Like let's say for example that dinosaurs like T-Rex and other kind of carnivorous dinosaurs like that did travel more like kind of like a horizontal way using their tail as balance. Now, obviously, probably somewhere in here probably says why that would be more beneficial to them. Again, maybe for like hunting. But now, let's say over time, they had to, evolve in a way maybe where they kind of went back to like the early rendition of how they thought, dinosaurs like that moved. Very possible. But, hard to say, really. So, so, I don't know, maybe there's something with like, huh. Now, I'm gonna throw something out there real quick. I could be completely wrong again. I don't know human anatomy the best and everything else like that, but maybe the only thing I can think of is that maybe the case of maybe let's say they were more horizontal and then evolved to be more standing up than how people thought they were. Maybe they evolved back in that case, maybe because of blood circulation. Now, I really don't know much about this kind of stuff at all. I'm just speculating from, and again, I could be wrong. Of maybe they evolved to where the blood they had to go in the colder areas, and they need the blood circulation to help keep them warmer. With more blood circulation, they're able to regulate their body heat and be able to survive in colder weather more. And maybe standing up helps with that more. It's kind of like how like crocodiles and alligators and a lot of reptiles are cold blooded and have to have to be in the sun to regulate their heat and to regulate their body temperature and everything else like that. And maybe that's why us humans, we evolved to be more standing up to help with that. I could be completely wrong, but in my brain right now, it makes sense. Just to keep things, up and tidy and everything else like that, and just keep the blood circulation going to keep your whole body warm, to where you could. Huh? In my mind, that makes sense, but I could be completely wrong. But I like how it sounds, so maybe. Again, that's even if if it's what they say is true and the story is and everything else like that. I don't know, but I kind of like the idea. I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's very interesting in overall too. So, did these people in the early 1900s in the Yukon and a little bit later on in Fairbanks, Alaska, and the other parts of the world truly did see a ceratosaur dinosaur or something similar of it? We may never know. But the idea about it is very, very cool, very fascinating, and shows that there is so much more of this world that we just can't. We'll probably never see, stuff we probably never be able to truly fathom, or anything else like that. But this is like low key up there, like was one of my favorite cryptids, just because it's a giant cold a giant ceratosaur-like dinosaur covered in hair in the cold, remote parts of the Yukon. How do you not find that cool? I do. I sure as hell do, and I think it's just so fascinating. But yes, I will post a picture of how people describe it in the Facebook page. Remember, follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/cryptid talk. And wow, time wise, we did pretty good with this one. I'm actually pretty happy with this one. I wasn't really sure how this was gonna go, but once I got to some points, I just went off. I just went good. I just went on. God, I love this. I love this show. I love all you, and I love cryptozoology. It just gets me so happy and excited. And if I did talk, and I feel like I might have, maybe not as quickly as I do with Bigfoot, but if I talked a little bit quickly and a little too excitedly, I apologize. Because sometimes when I just get going, my brain just goes pew, and I just do not slow down or anything else like that. But I hope you all enjoyed this one. I hope this was a new cryptid for a lot of you. And maybe, and if you already knew about this one, maybe you learned something new or a different point of view to look at some of this. Now, again, I can't say the evolution thing works for a lot of cryptids, but I think for some, especially ones that they were like dinosaurs, that where we know they existed at some point. Maybe they evolved into something to help them evolve to survive modern day. Who knows? Obviously, I've got no evidence for that, but I think evolution needs to be thought about more for a few cryptids. But that's just me. But I hope everyone enjoyed this one. This one was a lot of fun, and obviously putting on the poll, I was like actually kind of low key hoping this one would have been the winner. But of course, dragons won, and I hope you all enjoyed that one. Their dragons are crazy, and this one is just so fast. Even though they're in low key, there's not a lot of information about this. I'm glad I was able to get this one into a whole episode just by itself. I love this cryptid. It's fascinating. There seems to be some possible books or information about this. I want to try to get my hand on some of these, but I like the idea of it, and I'm hoping someday, maybe we get some more modern sightings of this thing. It would be really cool. But yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed. My name is Michael Madden. I hope you enjoyed. This is Cryptid Talk, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and tick on that little bell icon, and to get all the updates on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, and of course, again, follow the Facebook page. Any updates and some fun little stuff like that. And if you like, I guess, what do you guys all think of this one? Did you learn something or anything? Let me know in the comments below. If there's a particular topic or story or like event you want me to talk about. Let me know. And because obviously, there are a lot of cryptids, but at some point, I will possibly run out of some sort of, the interesting cryptids, and might have to talk about more like theories or like other, like stuff like that, and like events and everything, instead of like individual cryptid itself. But yeah, and of course, if you or a friend has seen anything, anything in the woods, water, the sky of our beautiful world that we live in, that we should treasure every single day, email me, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. I'm hoping to get some stories at some point to where we can have special episodes of me reading people's stories and then talking about them and stuff like that. Fingers crossed, but that's the plan. And hopefully, and hopefully, we get some people out, some sort of, especially if someone who maybe has some sort of evidence they haven't shown anyone, or a story that they're scared to tell people. Don't worry. You can come talk to me. I've heard a lot of different crazy stories that I've heard about. Not a lot will really surprise me, and I've heard a lot. So, don't be scared or anything like that. I'm not a judgmental person. I will take I will. I may not fully believe your story, but rather than that, but tell me about it. And if you say this is a true story, I will listen to it a bit harder. But I hope everyone has a good day, has a good weekend. Be safe and everything else like that. And of course, if anyone's in the South listening to this, be safe. Be safe down there. in the storms like that. Don't take any risks. And remember, take your pets with you. Pets are family. You don't leave family behind. And that's it. So remember, everyone, keep your ears and eyes open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been the Cryptid Talk with Michael Mann. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all.